Honorable Chairman, Member Justice Mittal, officers from the Government of India. In fact, I feel it as a privilege to be here to discuss with you certain issues related to competition policy and law. Being in government at fairly reasonable senior level, you are all aware about what is competition law, what is competition policy. I am only trying in most cases to just recapture so that there is a slightly better understanding of the concepts. When we say there is competition, what do we understand? Competition, we speak in terms of not what is happening in the Olympics or elsewhere, but in markets. In Competition Commission, we speak in terms of competition in markets. A market is defined in terms of a product or a service. Again, there are numerous markets in the country. A product, a service which is treated as substitutable by a consumer in a specified geographical area where competition takes place, that is a market. So depending on the product, there will be numerous markets. In the car, for example, segment, there will be number of markets in car itself. A small car, entry-level car, doesn't compete with a car in the luxury segment. So what we speak in terms of product or service market, which is treated by a set of products which is treated as substitutable by the consumers. And that too in a geographical area. Because when it is a case of a small product, for example, like a pen you want to purchase, you go to the nearest. You don't go take a flight and go far away because it is constrained by a geographical area. So we speak in those terms, in simple terms. And when we speak of competition, we speak in terms of effective competition. In textbook economics, we speak in terms of large number of suppliers, large number of producers, consumers, and homogeneous product. This doesn't exist in actual fact. So effectively what we speak is there should be rivalry among enterprises, the market players. They should be competing to get more consumers. They should be competing to attract more consumers to themselves rather than collude, act in collusion. So what we speak in terms of it is competition in market. It is not necessary that there should be a large number of players in the market. Even with one player, competition is possible because there is a concept of contestability. When entry is possible, ease of entry is there, then it is likely that when what is making Bolt run faster because somebody is breathing down his neck. When entry is feasible, costless, then there will be the existing player, that is the incumbent, will behave. That is the concept. There is absolutely no doubt that there are a number of benefits coming out of competition. We are all aware when there is competition for anything, the best comes out. The best comes out of competition. In the absence of competition, normally there will be lethargy, there will be less output. There is a question asked, what makes a country rich or poor? The basic answer found out by McKinsey was that there is competition in that market. More competitive behavior among firms. The policy was conducive to competition, that made. Again, Joseph Stiglitz, well-known economist, Nobel laureate, he he made a statement that it is not a luxury, competition is not a luxury for rich countries. It is for poor countries as well to have a democratic market economy. Competition is a must. Number of market studies have come up. What are the benefits of competition? It enhances productivity and economic growth. There is a virtuous cycle. When there is competition in markets, it results in higher productivity, enhanced productivity. Enhanced productivity results in higher competitiveness. Higher competitiveness results in growth, economic growth. Number of studies have been there which can be quoted, Dutch and others. In the case of 53 countries, they have done a study and they found that there is a direct perceptible relationship between competition in markets and economic growth. Khemani and others, in the case of 23 East Asian countries, they conducted the study and came to the same conclusion. Carlin and others, in the case of 3,300 firms in 25 countries, they came to the similar conclusion. An ECB working paper has found, in the case of EU, again, it is the most important driver of economic growth, dynamism is competition in markets. So there are a number of studies in case of Tanzania, Jordan, there are independent studies. The second issue is competition law enforcement can lead to price regulation, inflation control. This has again been proved in the case of number of instances. Sweden and Finland, competition authorities observed price decline of 20-25% following enforcement action in a particular certain sectors. Again, football replica kits case in UK resulted in long-term price reduction to the extent of 30% following enforcement action by Office of Fair Trading. In Israel, again, the price decline to the extent of 40-60% was observed in a bid rigging cartel case. Cartel case in real estate in Washington City itself had indicated 32% decline in real estate prices because of the enforcement action. A third dimension of efficiency flows in respect of public procurement. It is more relevant in respect of we gathered here. There's an OECD survey has found that saving to public treasuries between 70 and 43% have been achieved in some developing countries which they have done the study. Again, European Commission found over a period of 93-2002, enforcement of public procurement directives resulted in up to 25 billion euro savings in procurement. In Russia, they have done specific study in 2008, $7 billion of saving budget because of their tweaking of public procurement procedures. In Pakistan, that's a very minute sector, Karachi Water and Sewage Board, through introduction of open, transparent bidding process, they were able to save $3.1 million in one particular system. So number of instances I have, I don't want to go any further. Now, just to conceptualize what are we talking in terms of competition law. Competition law, we are speaking about market power and its exercise. What is market power? Market power is the ability of an enterprise to influence, to act independently of consumers and competitors. And market power can be obtained by an enterprise primarily by sheer efficiency. Innovation. You find any product available in the market, why we are attracted towards them? Because it's an innovative product. It is produced by somebody efficiently. It is available same quality as cheaper price, or is at a same price you are getting a better quality, an innovative product. So that is basically market power is obtained through efficiency, sheer efficiency. Can we blame anybody for that? No. So market power per se or dominant position per se is not bad. At the same time, there is a tendency. I don't want to innovate. I don't want to have my cozy life. So what do? There are 5 players in the market. I enter into collusive arrangement. The market power, when we compete, I don't have market power. So what do? I agree to not to compete. So through collusive arrangement, again, you create market power. So agreement not to compete. By that, when you don't have market power in a market where you compete, you create artificial market power. That is agreements. There is another way you can create market power. That is through legitimate business strategy, that is mergers, amalgamation, acquisition. That is, nobody can blame that. But at the same time, in certain market structure, if certain enterprises come together, there is a very high likelihood that they will have a higher market power, which would be working against the principles of or competition. So based on these 3 factors of market power and its exercise, competition laws, any competition laws all over the world, they have provisions related to anti-competitive agreements. Agreements among competitors in particular stands prohibited and severely treated. We will come to know we have section 3.3, where agreement among competitors, they are treated in terms of catalyzation. There are 4 types of agreements, which you will see later, including price fixing, market sharing, restricting supply or production, and collusive bidding or bid rigging. These are treated as hardcore cartels by OECD and all, which in our act is treated as cartelization, or where there is a provision for presumed anti-competitiveness. That is one. So anti-competitive agreements stand prohibited when they have something called appreciable adverse effect on competition. That is one. Second is, as I was telling, dominant position or market power is not bad per se. But in case there is an abusive behavior, that's the difference between MRTP Act and this Act. During the MRTP time, being big was treated as bad per se in itself. So further expansion used to be treated as bad, so there used to be control on them. So with the result, there was a change in pattern in this, treating abuse as bad, not being big as bad. Third aspect is, as I was telling, merger, amalgamation, acquisition. It is not bad per se, it's a business strategy. Business firms have the prerogative, it is their strategy. But at the same time, there used to be, when the first competition law was by Canada in 1889, but first enforcement was by USA in 1890. Initial years, so many decades, mergers, amalgamation, acquisition was not part of competition law. Then what has happened? Agreements among firms, anti-competitive agreements, cartelization, when they were caught in the act, they will take the excuse, we are going to merge. We are in the process of merging. So then it was frustrating the efforts of competition authorities to burst cartels. So there was no other way. Because any cartel you catch hold of, they will claim that we are in the process of getting merged. The same way as when you are caught in the act, you say, we are going to get married. We are in the process of getting married. So that is the same process which is happening here. With the result, competition authorities all over the world has brought merger, amalgamation, acquisitions under the umbrella of competition law. But there is a difference. When anti-competitive agreements and abuse of dominance remains prohibited, they stand prohibited. Mergers, amalgamation, acquisitions, they are only regulated. Regulation means you have to notify above a very high threshold. You have to notify to the commission and wait. And you will see later that Commission clears most of the cases, large number of cases within 30 days, and in some cases only 3 cases, which you will see later, with some modifications. Now that is regarding the law as a whole. And the third aspect of law, see, when our competition law came into force in 2009, the Act came in 2002, 2003, it was enacted. But basically the Act is treated as a modern Act. World Bank, WTO, Trade Policy Review, they held that it is a modern Act, state of the art, having 4 pillars. And the 4th one is advocacy. We are here basically as part of that advocacy, creating awareness. Because what is possible by the competition law enforcement is part of it. A large number of issues remain outside. Basically the government policy. Government is the largest player in the market. Government as a procurer. Government as the spender, largest spender. Government as the largest employer. Government as the policy maker is the major player which influences policies, influences behavior of enterprises in the market. So advocacy involves interfacing with the enterprises, interfacing with government departments, interfacing with other stakeholders, so as to ensure that market plays out. That is an important area. Now competition policy. We spoke about competition law. What is policy? Policy is by the government. The government measures that directly affect behavior of enterprises and structure of industry. That is the comprehensive system of policy. Policy law is only a subset of policy. Policy includes, competition policy includes trade policy, it includes other policy, industrial policy in particular, different policies made by the government. So policies are able to influence the behavior of firms. That's why government policies are to be addressed. In fact, there are certain fundamental principles which should govern the policies when government is making policy. The first one for a government is to have an effective competition law. In the case of India, yes, we have an effective, as I was telling, effective competition law. The second one is institutional separation between policy making, operation and regulation. We know that there used to be a time when government used to be making law, government used to be making policy, government used to be a player in the market, and government also used to be regulating. We have still some remnants, but in a different form. People always make comments regarding Air India, for example. It's under civil aviation, Railway Ministry, DOT and BSNL. Basically, there should be separation. What happens? You are the umpire. You make the rules. You are the umpire. And also you are a player in the market. There is no level playing field. So the principles of competition to play out implies that there should be institutional separation. Whenever we think about policies, we have to keep that in mind. This is a lesson we have to learn. Competitive neutrality. Because when you in WTO, when we discuss competition policy and trade and all, that the negotiation leading towards an agreement, the main argumentation by various countries, especially the European Union, Japan, Korea, is that there should be national treatment, procedural fairness. That means basically within the country, there should be neutrality between private sector, public sector, foreign companies. There is no reason that one sector is superior. There is no reason that there should be open competition irrespective of the sector, irrespective of the ownership, competitive neutrality in policies. There is also a concept of essentiality, essential facilities doctrine. I don't know, maybe many of you are familiar with that. What happens in a developing country in particular, not only in developing country, everywhere, there may be some facilities which are essential for competition to take place. In the case of, for example, a hospital, there may be a helipad. There is a very famous case. Certain bridges across a river, unless that is there, you cannot, because that is, everybody cannot construct a bridge. Everybody cannot construct a helipad. Everybody cannot have a facility. Suppose a facility is essential for having competition in a sector, and that facility is already owned by somebody, and a new entrant to come, either he has to access that facility or he has to create his own facility. In case creating that facility is enormously costly, then nobody will enter. So with the result, yes, in case there is spare capacity, then the incumbent will have the obligation to share that facility. Because recently somebody was discussing about transport, state transport, many cases. Actually, they are in many states, it is basically owned, state transport corporations. They are well organized. The transport depots or the bus stands, they are owned by the public transport authority, state transport authority. And the private sector cannot enter because the bus stand is the place where people come and gather together. If you are a private sector, you just are outside. Can it be treated as an essential facility? There were discussions regarding towers, telephone towers. Whether it is, I don't know, because questions were raised regarding whether it is an essential facility. Certain facilities in airports, for example, filling stations, or for example, airline fuel, whether access is available to others to enter, issues have been raised. But this is a doctrine which has to be used very sparingly, but the issue nonetheless is there. And the final point regarding competition policy is any policy which we make, we are makers of policy at different levels, then competition should be in our view. What is competition? What is the interest? Interest is ultimately public welfare. Welfare is the ultimate objective of policy. Every policy has got one objective. While trying to achieve that objective, are you obstructing so many others? When you have an objective, you come out with a policy, then everybody adds some more obstruction. Every policy should be conducive to competition, not obstructing competition. That is the principle. Again, there is a principle when we speak about welfare. The most important reflection, proxy for welfare is GDP growth. GDP growth per capita. That is the objective. We are the largest or the fastest growing large economy in the world, agreed. But the objective is to go 8%, 9%. What is the way to go? The way to go is promote competition. Government can be as obstructive as possible. Government can be the facilitator also. So what I wanted to say is public policy and program should work towards promoting competition. Towards this end, there is some concept of competition assessment. Any policy that is being contemplated by the government, departments, there should be a view regarding whether this is conducive to competition. There is a procedure. Competition tool kits, assessment kits are available with OECD, with UK. It is available, and even inside the country. So basically every policy has to be subjected to the test of whether it is conducive, promoting competition or obstructing competition. Competition impact assessment. So we have a system in the CCI because we have seen that inside the country capacity is limited. So we have tried to develop 7 institutions based on a process of inviting their interest and selected 7 institutions. Only 2 weeks back we had a conclave. 2 days, everybody was together, 7 institutions. I am Ahmedabad, I am Lucknow, I think Indians, Indian National Law Institute, Delhi and all together assessing certain past laws, regulations, trying to know whether these regulations or laws have been obstructing competition, promoting competition, what is the way it can be modified. It's a sample exercise. There's no validity as such, just to create capacity so that ministries, departments, they can access, they can rely on some agencies. Domestic capacity is created. So it is always advisable. We would urge that every department, ministry has to have a cell at a senior level, joint secretary level, so that you will be looking at every order, every law, every regulation, whether what I am doing, is it going to promote competition or is it going to be acting as a obstruction to competition? Because our enthusiasm is a particular objective. That objective can be served with through a very minimal obstructionist way. That is something which we have to look into, take into account. Now, another aspect which I want to say is regarding welfare. As I told that the objective is welfare. Welfare can be in terms of what? Consumer welfare, producer welfare. In the 60s and 70s, the emphasis was on producer welfare because we used to protect producers. Because in economic concept, we have producer surplus, consumer surplus, resulting in total surplus. Similar, correspondingly, we can say welfare of producer, producer welfare, consumer welfare. 60s, 70s, we were inward looking, we were producing, we are protecting producers, expecting that they are the savers, investors. But we had gone too great into that. With the result, we got into a mess. Now, gradually what happens as country evolves, liberalization, the focus shift to consumer surplus, consumer welfare. So that is the focus. That's why a competition law is not there to protect competitors. Competition law is there to protect competition in markets, to ensure that competition prevails in market. I think I don't want to take any further because we have a presentation on the Competition Act by our secretary which is going to come, and also there is some discussion by our honorable chairman. So I'm just stopping here, and I think if there is a question answer, we will be able to respond to that. Thank you.